Welcome back, y'all. We back with another video. I want to introduce this thing we're doing. The NBA season is basically underway. We have the first preseason game today against the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Before we get into this, let me change this because it's definitely not right. There we go. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and follow our social media. They're at the top of the screen right there. But NBA preseason just started today. Mavericks and Timberwolves. But we're going to be starting doing NBA season previews for every single team in the NBA. We're going to go by division. Today we're going to be starting with the Atlantic division. So that's Celtics, Raptors, Nets, Knicks. Is that it? Celtics. Yeah, Celtics too.
Celtics, Raps. You said Sixers. You forgot Sixers. Sixers are there too.
I forgot Sixers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sixers too. So we're gonna be doing basically season previews for every single team, especially since the NBA season is basically like a few weeks away. So we can really get into it. What team do you guys want to start? Do you guys want to start with the Celtics?
Start with this.
We can really start with the Celtics. All right, so the way we're gonna be doing this is. Was that an echo? You heard that or no? That was just me.
You got a little bit of an echo. It went away though.
Okay. The way we're gonna be doing this though is we're gonna do major storylines for the team. We're gonna go over their additions and losses. We're gonna pick out one breakout player, and then we're gonna do their over/under win totals. We're gonna say over/under for their win totals. So we're gonna do that for every single team, starting with the Celtics. I'm gonna go to you, Q, first with the Celtics. So let's go over their additions and losses. So we know what the trades they made this year. They got Drew Holiday. They got Kristaps Porzingis. But while doing that, they also lost Robert Williams. They lost Marcus Smart. They lost Malcolm Brogdon. So obviously big losses to their playoff rotation last year. But it was kind of like addition by subtraction. They fixed some of the needs that they had. So they have a really good six-man roster. They have – go ahead.
That's it. They lost Grant Williams also too.
They lost Grant Williams and Robert Williams. So I don't think enough people talking about how much they lost this year. Their depth is not really good this year, but their starting lineup and their six-man is really good. So talk about the losses they had and what you think like effect it'll have on the team this year.
Their losses, it sounds like a lot. Because it is. Grant Williams was important to that team, no matter how bad we think he is, or like the type of player he is. He still was important to the Celtics. He was part of their depth that allowed them to go eight deep instead of seven. How they look right now. Marcus Smart, that's a loss cultural wise, but as a player, you gained that back in Drew Holiday with a multiplier on that. He's, in my opinion, at least not twice the player Marcus Smart is, but it's a significant gap. Robert Williams, that's a big loss defensively. You know, he's part of that defense. He switches a lot, but you don't really see him a lot because you don't be on the floor. Same thing with Kristaps, but you open up the floor on offense, and he provides basically almost the same amount of rim protection that Robert Williams has in the same amount of time. They did draft Jordan Walsh. They do need wing depth because their best wings, we're going to see the most minutes of the top two players after Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who's really there. Jordan Walsh, if he plays on this team in this system in this scheme, 9 times out of 10 by April, he should be seeing at least 18 minutes a night. That helps him with depth. Now he's going to be in a lineup with like Derek White, possibly Drew Holiday at times, still Kristaps, and they did pick up Wendy Gabriel, who's not the biggest name, but he's an energy type big. He rim runs. He tries hard. He's not the best defender, but I mean, all you gotta do is try. He's never going to be in a lineup like by himself. It's probably going to be him and Al, or him and Kristaps, along with like a Walsh, Derek White, and let's say Tatum and Brown. That's still a cool lineup in whatever amount of minutes you give them. So I think like their losses, they gain that back, and with their additions, so like they're pretty stand pat, and their additions just gave them that extra boost. So I think this Celtics team, they should be fine.
Yeah, I think their the roster from the six-man lineup standpoint is very good, but they do have some concerns. They obviously have Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, he's aging. He's in his late 30s now. And then Kristaps Porzingis has not played a full season in I don't know how long. He typically misses about 20 games a season. So that's obviously concerning for this team. Max, talk to me about their additions and losses and how you think it'll play out for the season this year.
What Q said, I think they lost a lot of culture. You got Marcus Smart, who, was the longest tenured Celtics player. You have guys who bought into the system. You have guys who were part of how they were able to work for the past couple of years. You obviously gain talent, you gain some versatility with Kristaps being able to stretch the floor out, but you lose guys who perform for you. Obviously, we know what Marcus Smart could do. Some games in the playoffs, he was their best player. He was the scorer. He was the piece off the bench. I agree Drew Holiday's better, but a lot of these guys are new in the system. If my breakout player, can I talk about breakout players right now, or no? Should I not even touch it yet? We'll go in later.
No, I mean, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. I agree with you again. I do think Jordan Walsh is the one player I look out for. I like his defensive versatility. Offense, obviously, he's really raw. I think he's got a long way to go with that. But defensively, especially if that front court might get injured or lose some time, I think you could maybe throw him in at the later months if he gets enough experience. I don't see him, obviously, like as being a Grant Williams type player. But like what you said, extending that role, extending that bench, if he could come in and give Jaylen Brown or give Jason Tatum a couple minutes off the bench and defend the other team's second, third best player, that could be big come playoff time. I think it's just a matter of guys buying in. Again, I do think the players they got on paper look better than the players they lost, but they lost a lot of I'm not gonna say like fan love, but like a lot of guys love Marcus Smart. A lot of guys love Time Lord. Grant Williams is like a big
like in terms of the team, how they like I guess like the intangibles or like whatever it is, like the chemistry, because they've been there for so long. Like I understand that premise of that.
Like the Boston fans when they traded Marcus Smart were obviously like heartbroken, right? They love Marcus Smart, but like you get a better player in Drew Holiday. You give up more to get him, but you have championship experience. You have. I mean, obviously, Kristaps Porzingis, he hasn't been healthy for that long, but we've seen what he can be, right? When he's healthy, when he's playing good, he's a great rim protector and he can stretch the floor, which is huge for having two other stars who, in the playoffs, I'm not going to say choke. I know we make fun of Jason Tatum for that finals run, or we make fun of him in the playoffs sometimes, but they can sometimes shy away from the moments. So if you can have Kristaps Porzingis to come along and stretch the floor and give them more space to work, it's huge. So I think from that aspect, their additions are huge. But yeah, I do think overall it was a win of an offseason for them, especially compared to what happened in the league, what else happened in the league with the Bucks getting better. They tried to one-up them in every situation. I think they overall did have a good offseason.
You're right.
All right, we have some technical difficulties, but we back. So, Jaden, I want to go to you about their losses and additions, how you think it's going to affect the team, and anybody that sticks out for you and who they got back like through this offseason.
Be pretty fast because I feel like this whole thing is gonna be pretty repetitive since we already talked about it too in one of our first episodes back talking about the NBA. But I think the Boston Celtics would be just fine. You had Drew Holiday, who is a better player than Marcus Smart. Offensively, they both kind of serve the same purpose defensively, but I think just his offensive game is going to be able to elevate them in the playoffs. Because, like Max said, sometimes we do see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown full in those moments. And then you have Kristaps Porzingis, a guy who can stretch the floor, like Max said, a guy who can rim protect. So when you have those specific additions, I think the Boston Celtics will be just fine. Again, you lose players like Brogdon, you lose players like Marcus Smart, you lose players like Grant Williams. Again, just team guys. But when you add people like Drew Holiday, we have people like Kristaps Porzingis, and then other names. I think you talked about Wendy and Gabriel too much. I don't really know too much about them, so I'm not going to speak on that. And you guys are talking about Lamar Stevens or O'Shea Brissett. I only really know O'Shea Brissett for a couple of reasons, but I don't know too much about him, so I'm not going to speak on that for. But I think they'll be just fine. The only thing that's a problem that seems is Al Horford's age and then just big depth, but I believe they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I want to speak on that big depth because they did bring in William Gabriel, like Q said. Watching him last year on the Lakers, he's an effort big. He'll catch lobs, he'll defend the rim, he'll get on the floor, get you 50-50 balls and pause, and that's all that's all you really need for him to back up big. And with KP's injury history and Al Horford being old and his play is dropping off a little bit, like we saw in the playoffs, they'll need players like that just to be win now players, win players that you can put on the court and your stuff won't drop off tremendously. So I think I like the signing of William Gabriel. I like the signing of Lamar Stevens. So Jordan Walsh is definitely going to step up. I liked him in Arkansas watching him. His three ball came along a little bit throughout the season and the summer league. But he's an elite. I think he might have the potential to be an elite perimeter defender. He's going to be one of those glue guys as well. So he'll have a decent sized role in his team, especially because his team lacks wing depth as well. I don't think a lot of people talk about that. They don't have really big depth. They don't have wing like depth at all. They don't have much depth at all. But come playoff time, I don't think that'll matter much. Let's get into major storylines for the Celtics. I got a few written down here, but if you guys have any other storylines you think are important, I think we can get into that too. Front court health and depth. We already talked about it a little bit, so we don't gotta really touch on that too much. But we all know this offseason, the Celtics extended Jaylen Brown, gave him $300 million, made him the highest paid player in the NBA for like 2 weeks. And then they had this looming Tatum extension. So after this season, Jaylen Brown's contract kicks in, and then when they sign Tatum to this extension next offseason, his will kick in the next year. So, like I said, I think the last time we talked about NBA, they have a 2-year window where this roster is going to still be. It's already downgraded to a certain extent as far as the overall depth of the team, but it's going to get even worse once they sign Tatum to this contract because both of them are going to be taking up 35% of the cap, so it's going to be 70% of the cap allocated to 2 players. So I think that's a major storyline. And it puts a lot of pressure on the Celtics to win the championship this year. So what is it going to take? I'll go to Q. What is it going to take for this Jaylen Brown extension to be worth it? What does he have to do to live up to expectations? We've seen it. We've seen the offseason video already where he still can't dribble with his left hand. It's looking crazy already. So what are you looking to see from Jaylen Brown is my question, actually.
Listen, the thing about like sports, the thing that happened most recently is what's going to stick with you the most. This left hand dribbling thing, turnover thing has always been an issue, but he overcame it every time, and he still was 20 plus whatever points a game on decent efficiency and still one of the top 25 players in the league. So to act like he's not going to still be that is kind of crazy because, again, he's like 26. Like, we just seen it for so long. Like, he's been in the leagues for, 7 years? Like, he's just been here for some time. So it's like you've seen him a lot, but he's still super young. Him dribbling with the left hand didn't really hinder him so much so, like, that it made, like, everything look bad. Like, certain things look bad because certain teams just scheme for that. But with a Kristaps Porzingis there, it opens up the floor some more. Because part of that thing is he was dribbling in traffic. Maybe it's an IQ thing because he's trying to force things and do too much. But you feel me? Damn. Hold on.
I go after Q.
He's gonna still be a top 25 player in the league. He's still gonna average that amount of, same amount of points, damn near same, probably be better efficiency because he got Drew Holiday setting him up. They don't got to do too much. They're not dribbling the ball. He's not relying on him and Tatum to be the best playmakers on the team when they shouldn't be at all. You got Drew Holiday there, so that should alleviate some pressure. Come playoff time, you don't have to see him a lot in that dribbling role. He might just be, focus a lot of energy back on defense. He might just be a play finisher instead of like a play maker, play shot creator, whatever. He's probably just gonna get more easier looks and things might just be easier for him. If that happens, we don't even got to talk about Jaylen Brown. He just has to go do what he did without looking super bad in the playoffs, and Drew Holiday is going to help that. So he's going to be fine. Maybe
I want to take it next,
but he don't even worry about it.
Jay.
All right, cool. I would say, and I'm not even trying to be funny. I would say just pray Tatum doesn't get hurt. Pray Porzingis doesn't get hurt. Pray Drew Holiday doesn't get hurt. Now I don't want to go off the edge because off of that little 5-second clip, but it looks like he didn't work on his left hand. That's some stuff that I do sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a professional basketball player or anything like that. But when I'm in the gym, my right hand is the strongest. And then I dribble and I can't keep the right hand dribble. So it looks like, his left hand is still a problem. We all knew about his ball handling issues, but the thing is he doesn't see the same defensive pressures as Jason Tatum. So when Jason Tatum got out, and he was that focal point. He was that guy. We saw his weakness. We saw his kryptonite. So if you have Jason Tatum, and then as Q said, now you have Drew Holiday. Now you have other offensive weapons on your team. I feel like he'll be just fine. I knew I didn't have a lot to say, so that's why I wanted to take it. But yeah, just pray Jason Tatum doesn't get hurt again. He'll be cool.
I honestly,
You want that? I got it.
yeah, I got it. So I honestly think the addition of Kristaps Porzingis in the playoffs will help him because teams are not going to be able to pack the paint and sag off of Al Horford, who shot 29% from three in the playoffs last year. They'll have Kristaps Porzingis who can get buckets in the post, who can stretch the floor, and that's going to open up lanes for Tatum. That's going to open up lanes for Jaylen Brown. I think what teams are going to start to do is sag off of Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday has not been good in the playoffs for a very long time. And so I think that's an underrated thing. People are not, well, some people are talking about it jokingly, but Drew Holiday was very turnover prone last year and he was very bad in the playoffs. So I think that's an underlying storyline as well going on here. How is Drew Holiday? How are they going to perform in the playoffs? Can we get a consistent playoff performance from Tatum and Brown? They'll have to do that now. There's no Marcus Smart here, who's historically played well in the playoffs, who's was a leader on this team, who's a heart of this team. There's no one here. It's time for this duo to step up. You guys are in your 6th and 7th year. Marcus Smart should not be the leader on the team. It should be the best player. It should be Al Horford. It should be Jason Tatum. I think he's going to be a dark horse possibly for MVP. Actually, he's one of the favorites right now, so I wouldn't even say dark horse. But as far as Jaylen Brown, he got the big M's now, so it's time to step up. I think he needs to take a jump. I think Tatum needs to take a jump. Brown needs to take a jump. Him in the playmaking department, he can't continue to get tunnel vision when he drives to the basket and fumble with the ball all the time. You're a professional basketball player in year 7. You shouldn't be able to have ball handling issues when you're a wing. It's actually crazy. So he needs to work on that. It's still preseason, so hopefully he can get better. But you can go ahead, Max.
I was to say, I think they paid him knowing they're going to pay Tatum next year. They paid him to be a number 2. In my opinion, like all he has to do is be that number 2 role. Like, right, he needs to be that number 2 guy. If Tatum falls, okay, it's your night to step up. But you are that number 2 guy. Like that's what you have to do. He was bad defensively last year, but in the first years of his career, he was not a terrible defender. So I do think the defense will be fine. I'm not terrified about it. I think the team defense as a whole will be good. Obviously, with Porzingis and with Drew Holiday getting added. I get you lost Marcus Smart and Time Lord, but I do think that Drew Holiday is a better defender. And Kristaps, I think, is the same at least. But yeah,
not the same.
It's same as Robert Will. Rob Will?
No, Robert Will is better than him.
Robert
Will is more switchable. He's more switchable on the perimeter. He can just off that he's a better defender than Kristaps Porzingis. Yeah.
But regardless, I do think like they paid him to be a number 2. I don't think like because of this contract he has to automatically elevate his game to a number 1. I get he paid him the money, but Boston paid him the money. Like they paid him to be a number 2. He has to be a number 2. If it's second in scoring when Tatum's there and you have to elevate yourself when Tatum's not there, I think close to what Jay said, like if he does go down, pray that Porzingis or someone else there to pick up when she drops. So I'm not too crazy about him. He just got to keep his status as it is. He can't fall off that much, obviously.
No, this was like a nucleus driven type trade. I feel like the Celtics know that they have a top 5 guy in Jason Tatum. At his best, Jaylen Brown, he could be a top 15 guy. So you add pieces like Kristaps Porzingis, you add pieces like Drew Holiday. I feel like they can get it done. Personally,
No, they're definitely the favorites.
Listen, all the Jaylen Brown issues only matter at one time and one time only, and it's the playoffs. Strictly regular season. Nobody's gonna harp on his left hand dribbling at all. Like nobody's gonna, they're not gonna talk about his lack of playmaking at all because through 82 games he's gonna be a top 25 player. So if you want to make this a what do we expect from Jaylen Brown in the playoffs conversation, we could do that, and then that'll be a much more in-depth conversation. But 82 games still matter, and in 82 games, he's still one of the top 25 players in the league. He's going to look like that again. People are going to see him. They're going to look at his numbers, look at how he's playing. They're going to say he's a top 25 player. And then when the playoffs come around, that's when all the stories are going to come out because you're going to see him play bad probably in round 3. And that's when it's going to be a big issue. Remember that. We're going to see a problem in round 3, like in the conference finals. So that's when things are more magnified. I understand it. I get it. But this team lives basically in Eastern Conference Finals. Let's hold off on the Jaylen Brown talks till the playoffs, or at least round 2, because they're going to be in round 2 and beyond. Like, let him live. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Because you keep harping on it, he's gonna hear it. He's gonna end up doing things that he's either gonna be too aggressive or too passive. He's not gonna look the same. People are just gonna harp on him even more. So I just think we just gotta let the 82 games play out because we know what's gonna happen. And just wait till round 2 and we'll really talk about it.
Now, I set this up like one breakout player for every team. Every team, especially these contender type teams, are not going to have a breakout player. We already talked about Jordan Walsh unanimously. So I think for that purpose, everybody could just say Jordan Walsh unless you guys have a different name.
Yeah,
for
I
the
had
team.
Jordan Wolf.
Jordan
Yep.
Walsh.
Yeah, so like some of the contender teams are not going to have breakout players because obviously they have players that are obviously already established.
I guess
Now,
the only question is like what are the odds like Porzingis takes a step into being like a defensive anchor plus like a
he was a defensive anchor last year though.
I'm just saying like takes that next step to being like elite defensively in this elite offense.
Nobody gonna take it serious until he play like this.
That's the
season,
only person I think.
Yeah, he has to prove that he could play games. If he could play 65 games, then we'll start talking about Kristaps like that.
Or what if Jason Tatum takes that next step to being an MVP candidate, like solid MVP candidate, not like if Boston wins, like he's playing like an MVP for 6 months this season. You know what I mean? Like
I think he was playing like MVP last year. Honestly, it's just so much talent in the league. There's people gonna be over him.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if he could take that step where it's like you're talking about him and I'm not gonna say Jokic, but you're talking about him and those top guys in the same conversation, like they are playing at the same level this year. You know what I mean? Like I think there's even though there are like you can say it's top 7, the top 3 right now, right? You have Jokic, Giannis, and Steph. Like they're still up in that upper echelon of guys right now, right? And like, what if he gets to that point where he's playing like those top 3 guys or whatever? Like if those guys,
it
drop.
won't be taken serious until he wins the finals.
I understand.
That's what's gonna allow him to because it's nobody. You gotta say I'm not in that camp that the regular season doesn't matter because people act like the regular season don't matter. But I guess I understand. But if he plays great in the regular season, it's just gonna be what is he gonna do in the playoffs?
I feel like
it's gonna be a problem.
Jokic was in that conversation though with top players before he won this year though. I think people were throwing him up there as top guy in the league. I get it because he's won 2 back-to-back MVPs. Like that's a lot. That's more than Tatum's done in his career. But like people were throwing him in that conversation. But I do agree. I think if he wins a championship this year and no MVP, depending on what he does, he might get thrown into that conversation. But I think an MVP does go a long way.
And the him Luka talks might really be like people try to really make a him versus Luka thing. Like he has to try and be put in the Luka category before he even tries to touch Steph, Jokic, and Giannis.
It's fair. It's fair.
All right, so their over/under win total is 54.5. We've known the Celtics duo to be very, very durable, playing about 70 games per season. They don't really sit out a lot. They're young. They're healthy. So I personally think they're going to smash this over 54 wins. I think they're at the minimum get like 57. They have the best team in the East. So their only really competition is the Bucks. So I'm gonna go over on a 54.5 win total.
Over.
You said smash it, but get 57.
I said
at the minimum.
Minimum 57.
Oh, okay.
I think they're a 16-win team. So easily.
I saw 16.2 season.
All right, let's move on to the next team. That's going to be the Nets. The Nets season preview. This team honestly did not do much this offseason outside of the draft. They brought in a few pieces that are going to have some effects, but they lost some pieces as well. The additions: Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr., Noah Clowney from the draft, Derek Whitehead, who I like from the draft, Darius Baisley from the Suns. Then they lost Yuta Watanabe to the Suns. They lost Joe Harris to the Pistons via trade, and they lost Patty Mills as well.
Can I go first?
Yeah, talk to me about the additions and losses they had this offseason.
What sticks out to me is the 3 guys they lost, shooting and experience. Joe Harris has been on the team for a while. Patty's obviously been in the league for a while. But Yuta and Joe Harris are obviously both 2 top shooters on their team last year. And a lot of the new guys they brought in is youth and versatility. I don't think that's going to be a direct translation for them to get wins, though. They went 11-13 after the All-Star or after the trade deadline. A lot of their wins from last year were from Steph and KD at the start of the year. A lot of people are forgetting about that. Right? Like they weren't getting carried by Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and those and all those wins. So I think their team is going to be heavily reliant on youth and heavily reliant on the question mark players who we see have, like Lonnie Walker has glimpses. Ben Simmons coming back. What's he going to be? Dennis Smith Jr. looked playable last year. Like you have some of these guys with a lot of question marks on them. So it's just a matter of if it kind of comes together or not. This team is one that I'll probably be watching just because I'm curious about this team. You got Claxton, who showed that he could be a great defensive anchor last year. Mikal Bridges broke out a little bit after the trade deadline. Some good storylines going on there. As a whole, though, I think they'll be a little underwhelming. I think making the playoffs last year, they got swept, right? They got swept by Philly.
Yep.
I think, again, it's just Mikal Bridges on a team on his own. I'm still curious to see if it's him actually being that top player or him just taking advantage of his opportunities. I think I don't know. There's a lot of versatility on the team. They have a lot of players who can shoot, can defend. Size-wise, I think it's interesting. You have Ben Simmons as a tall. You could like have a big lineup or a small lineup. Like they have a lot of interesting things. It's just a matter of if their players can actually play. So I think they'll be a little underwhelming though, just because their place in the playoffs last year was kind of anchored by the good start from Nash and KD and Kyrie. So it's interesting, but I don't know. I think they'll be a little underwhelming.
Jaden, talk to me about Go ahead.
Nash didn't help that at all. That was really Jacques Vaughn and
I kind of
KD
when
and
I was
Kyrie.
talking about it, I said Nash, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I forgot."
Yeah, but nah, I agree with everything you said. Really, I think we're gonna see what we saw post All Star break. I think you said 11 to 13. Yeah, I think we're just gonna see some more of that. What I do believe is I am a big fan of Ben Simmons. I have been for a long time. Hopefully, I see some type of revenge tour with Ben Simmons, but it's gonna be the same thing. You don't really have that that guy, unless Ben Simmons becomes that again. But Mikal Bridges, he's really a number 2, a number 3, and then for this team, he has to be a number 1. So I don't have too many expectations for this team. Maybe they can be a young type, sparky, probably bring back D'Lo vibes or something like that. But I don't really even get those type of vibes. But um, not a playoff team, not a play-in team. I don't believe it's just not enough. I don't
I
think
think they'll fight for play.
Mikal
I
Bridges
think
is
they'll
enough.
fight for play.
They'll be in the plan. They'll be in the plan. They'll probably be a top 10 seed. I think so.
I don't know.
Top
I don't
10?
know. Top 10 was 40 wins last year. I think they're
Yeah,
In the
fighting.
East,
If
I
top 10
think
was 40
I
wins,
think they're 20 to I don't 20 to 30.
20 is kind of 20 is wild actually.
I think they
20
got
is
more than
crazy.
20.
We'll talk about that over under win total, but they're not going to be a 21 team.
Who do they
This
have?
they have
they
this
got-
this roster isn't
I think
terrible.
their
It has a lot
defense will
of
be defense. I think their defense will be very good.
Throwing
Spencer
out
Claxton,
Dinwiddie.
Ben
Spencer
Simmons,
Dinwiddie.
Bridges.
Woody, Cam Johnson, Royce O'Neal, DFS,
They don't
Claxton.
got Royce O'Neal no more.
Yeah, they do.
I don't think they
They
still
do
got
have Russell
Royce.
Neal.
I think
Yeah,
so.
they got
I've seen
the starting lineup. Is Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Nick Claxton. That's not the worst starting lineup in the East. They're not going to be a 20-win team. They're probably fighting for the play-in.
I know I just talked. Sorry. The one thing that I forgot to say that I will mention about this team is if they start losing, I think this team will be very heavy in trade rumors. They have a lot of, I think DFS, Royce O'Neal. They have a lot of guys who could provide value to like championship teams. I think if they're playing pretty bad, I don't know why you want to keep some of those guys in your roster. I think some championship teams could start calling to try and get some of these guys off the team. So,
Look, let me go because I'm gonna be quick. Everything I said is basically like everything I'm gonna say. Mikal Bridges ain't who people were saying he was. Like he was a number 3 put in a number 1, so his numbers is just inflated. They're gonna be exactly what they were post All-Star break, 11 and 13. They're gonna be a 500 team. Yeah, that's gonna compete for a play because 500, that's about 40 wins. Cool, whatever. This team is either gonna be trading for some players to add to the very good, roster, outside of the top 2. Like the wings, they're wing heavy. They got a couple guards, some young players, whatever, and they got first round picks. They're either going to be trading for a star or they're going to be trading away because at trade deadline, a team with championship hopes, they're going to want a DFS. They might want a Cam Johnson if he doesn't live up to the money that he got. Somebody might want a Spencer. Somebody might want to take a flyer on Royce O'Neal. That might be a last thing that a team might need, like say the Cavs go get Royce O'Neal or something like that. You feel me? That's just the team that they are now. They either need to trade for like a couple big names with the assets they got. They probably the type to go take a big swing on Pascal at trade deadline with all their first round picks when they shouldn't, because they could probably just try to get him for free in the offseason. But the Nets, they're just a mid team to me. They're not nothing to be really too worried about. Like they lost pieces, but they gained pieces. They're gonna be in the same spot. Like their pieces didn't really give them a little extra jump, and they lost it didn't, hurt the team that drastically, because the pieces they got basically counteract that. Like they're just where they are. Like they're 500.
No, I want to go back. 20 games is great. That was great.
Okay.
Let's see.
But I was gonna just reiterate a lot of stuff y'all was saying, but I want to get love to some of my favorite players on this team. Lonnie Walker was a good player last year for the Lakers. He got a bad rap at the end of the season, especially in the playoffs. He could have helped us. And then Dennis Smith Jr. Quietly had a great season last year in Charlotte. Was one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Could have been an all-league defender. Revitalized his career in Charlotte. I love Dorigo Head coming out of Duke. He was one of my favorite draft prospects. I think his injuries really held him back, but he was supposed to be a top 5 pick if people don't remember. So listen, they have some talent on this roster. They have some young players on this roster. I think they'll be set up nicely for the future. They got to just manage it well. They're going to have to make a decision in the next few years. Are they going to try to build something, or are they going to try to, rebuild their team and start young? We've seen this team. We've seen the Nets team do a rebuild the wrong way twice. Like they had D'Lo and Jared Allen, that young fun team, and then they traded everybody and got KD, Kyrie, James Harden. That was a disaster. It failed. We saw what they did with Paul Pierce, KG. Who was it? Paul Pierce, KG. I'm tripping. Rondo was it, or who was the third person?
Jason Terry.
No.
Jason Terry.
Okay, yeah, the Paul Pierce and KG team, they did that rebuild wrong as well. So hopefully Joe Tsai does it a different way. They actually let the process go. They don't try to build a championship contender. They have not been good at that. That's just the overlying thing. They lost Udoka Anunoby, who was good for them, and Joe Harris as well. Joe Harris, I know Nets fans are happy to see him go. He was actually trash last year. He hasn't been good for an actual minute, if we be honest. He's one of those shooters that is pretty streaky. So for to be shooters, honestly,
I don't know, but I think looking at their team, they have no experience. They have rookies and a bunch of guys who are just getting thrown into this role. So I think I get it, but having Joe Harris, who has an NBA championship and has actually been in the league for a while, I don't think it's a terrible thing.
Joe Harris got a chip.
Cleveland. Yeah, I was about to say.
Cleveland.
He wasn't on that. They traded him that same year, didn't they?
I'm pretty sure he has a ring.
No, they traded Joe Harris Braun rookie year. He ain't win a chip with that team.
I'm 99% sure he has a ring. Let me make sure.
I might be wrong.
When the hell did he get a ring?
Y'all got a breakout player from the team though?
Nope. Yeah, I don't got one. So.
Ben Simmons.
Not Ben Simmons. Not Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, bro. But no, Latif, I know that you were at so everybody watching the podcast. Teef, he's like a bandwagon type of guy. So he was
am I not still a Ben Simmons fan? Q, can you speak to this? I'm literally
no. He been talking Ben Simmons for a minute. I don't know
what he's talking about.
Yes,
I'm just saying
Teef has been
when players tend to fall off, you stop becoming fans of them. You were the biggest Russ
he was still
fan,
pumping Ben Simmons. He was pumping Ben Simmons all summer.
I agree.
No, Russ is a different case. He's actually I used to love the OKC Thunder when they had KD and KD and Russ.
So Harris got traded that year, so I don't know if they counted it, but he was on that 2015-16 roster.
He got traded. Him and Dion Waiters got traded 2 months in.
But he still got the ring. He's on that year. He played games on the 2016 Cavs.
Yeah, he probably got it. But Russ, I don't know. It was a special case. I used to love KD and Russ together in the Thunder. I was actually a a KD and Russ fan. Like we used to have kick and stuff like that. Russ is my profile picture, and my username was KD MVP 35. Like even though LeBron's my favorite player, I love KD until he had to snake Russ and leave, and it rubbed me the wrong way. So I haven't been a KD fan since then.
You're getting weird now. I'm just asking you, what do you think about Ben Simmons' revenge?
Weird. That's not weird.
Nah, it was going off. It was going off a weird little
I got a tangent.
I just wanted to know about Ben Simmons.
I got a tangent about Ben Simmons coming up here, but I wanted to see here any. No, I wanted to hear about your breakout player. We got to get into major storylines, and then I want to hear. Oh, we gotta go major storylines first. My bad. Major storyline: Ben Simmons resurgence. I want to go first. This is one of my favorite players. Now listen, this man is healthy for the first time in a long time. We know all the noise out of Philadelphia. He quit on the team, all that. I personally feel like Philadelphia did him the wrong way. If you're an athlete, you know you don't come out in the media and talk bad on your teammate. You don't talk bad on your teammate. Joel Embiid came out and talked bad on Ben Simmons after that playoff run against Atlanta. Yes, Ben Simmons played bad, but it was fourth quarters where Joel Embiid did not show up himself. You don't come out in the media and talk bad about your teammates. So I completely understand why he wanted to get out of the situation. May he went about it the wrong way. You can argue that. But now he's here in Brooklyn. He's healthy. I think we're going to see a Ben Simmons resurgence. I think he's going to come back and be a all-NBA type defender. He's going to be a dominant paint presence. I don't know, dominant is kind of crazy. But he's going to be I think his confidence is going to be back. You hear how Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie talk about him over all season. I think his confidence is going to be back. I think he's going to be able to play point guard again. As long as he has a coach who believes in him, I think Ben Simmons can return to being a competent NBA player. I'm not talking about all-star level player, but he's going to be playable again because last year he was not playable. Go ahead, Max.
What's his stat line?
Stat line? He can average something like
15,
12.
7, and 4. 15,
I don't know.
7, and 4.
15 might be a little much. I think 15 is a little much.
I think if he
7,
starts,
and 4.
if he starts, it depends on how Jacque Vaughn is going to use him because it's going to be really hard to use him with Nick Claxton on the floor and then have him on the floor. But two players that can't place the floor. So
I was gonna say
15, 7, and 4.
I'm not. I get it. I get what we talk about when we say like it's one or two more buckets. Is like it's not that much. I'm saying like if he puts up 12, I'm like, damn, he put up 12 points a game this year. Like I'm looking at that like, okay, he's playing.
Honestly, I'm not mad at that, Max. I'm not mad at that.
If he could put it up like 12, 6, and 8 or something, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of a well-rounded game, like a semi Draymond Green stat line to like what he's been putting up in Golden State. Like I just think if he could provide versatility, if they could throw him in at the 1, they could throw him in at the 4. Like if he can just get minutes and like what Latif's saying, like he is not a liability to be on the court, especially his free throw shooting. You guys see that was pretty bad actually. Everyone's like freaking out that he hit 10 free throws in a row. I'm sorry, like that's not moving me. Like I don't care. But like if he can like not play himself off the court, right? Like shot selection smart. If he can get to the line and actually, I'm not saying like a 80%, but like if he can make majority of his free throws, like and not be a liability like at all, like then yeah, like I think it'd be good. I think it'd be helpful for that team because again, they need experience, and Ben Simmons has some sort of experience. He's been to the playoffs. He's been to deep in the playoffs a little bit. I was gonna say Eastern Conference Finals. He hasn't been in the Eastern Conference Finals. So yeah, I don't know. I think that I would love to see Ben Simmons ball out. I think that he's been slandered for too long. I don't think that the whole injury thing. I don't know if he's actually been injured some of this time. I think he just doesn't. He hasn't wanted to play a little bit.
He's been injured.
I'm sorry, like I'm not trying to hate, but like I don't know. He's been injured for a while, so I guess if it's the same thing still going on, but yeah, it'd be nice to see Ben Simmons kind of like resurgence.
My stat line for him was going to be. Hold on, my stat line for him was going to be just 12, 5, and 5. I wasn't going to go 12, 7, and 5. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. 12, 7, and 5 would be cool for Ben Simmons this year. I think that'd be helpful. Go ahead.
Man.
First off, I don't care what Q was saying. I don't believe it. First off, I remember a few months back, we had JD on here, and it was Ben Simmons is a bust, and then everybody else, I was the only person saying no, Ben Simmons is not a bust. But you, this whole so-called big Ben Simmons fan, is now talking about you believe he can revive his career.
I did not say Ben Simmons was a bust. I agree.
Wait, what they got to do with me?
Whoa.
No, he's talking about.
You were saying,
yeah. Go ahead.
You were like testifying saying he was a Ben Simmons fan. I don't believe it. Shit. So, anyways,
Just because I say he was a bust doesn't mean I'm not a fan of him. It's just objectively true. Like
yeah, but literally,
he's a bust of what
my
he's.
whole reasoning for saying he wasn't a bust was talking about he really only had one bad season, and that's because him being injured, for real, for real. So he's not a bust. Just going back into that. But anyways, no,
Okay.
I believe Ben Simmons. Well, I don't really want to say too much of what you were saying, but I agree with everything that you said. 15 and 7 and 5. That is a little bit much. I believe that's kind of what he was doing when he was that all-star kind of guy, and he was just different on the defensive end. Not saying that he's not going to be different on the defensive end, but I can see something like 12, 7 and 5, something like that. So yeah, that's
Bro,
all I want to say.
you saying the same thing I'm saying with one less bucket. Like that's what you're telling me. Like that's y'all both said the same thing I said with one less bucket.
No, but
Like
thing that you don't understand, Q, is these are averages. Like these are accumulation of games. That's what I was talking about
you
with
telling
DeAndre Ayton.
you're telling me that I don't understand that it's averages.
Bro,
Bro,
listen,
it's like Q just wants
nah,
to fucking argue all the time. My bad, my bad.
bro, listen,
But
listen.
You saying something
I'm
like
not.
I
I'm
don't
just
know. I
saying.
know that.
I'm telling you, like it's different. It's more than just two buckets, bro. Like it's more than that, bro. It's more than that.
Yeah, it depends on the amount of shots you take in the game. If he's taking the amount of shots he's taking in the game and he's hitting his free throws, he's gonna get the buckets, bro. Well, you're not saying anything. If he really has improved, he should be hitting his free throws. He will get 15 points. That's not much. 12 to 5 is not a big jump at all. Talking about its
If he
averages.
does,
You don't
if he,
understand averages, but what? Shut up. Go ahead.
anyways, 15 points. I agree with Jaden. 15 points, it will be getting back to his all-star level. So if that's your prediction, then I mean let that be a prediction that he'll get back to his all-star level. But I think just for what we've seen the last two, what did he average 6 points last season? Like from what we've seen
He
the
was
past few
abysmal.
seasons, he he wasn't good. So it's like I think even 10 points, like if he had a Draymond like eight, like 7 and 7, that would be for me personally, that would be pretty effective. Now, I think if Benson was in a different situation, where he had extra shooters around him in a system with like a Stephen Curry and a Klay Thompson, he could be a Draymond level player as far as defensive because I think he's very smart on the defense end as far as IQ. I think he's more athletic than Draymond, so I think he could be like not as good as Draymond, but like I don't want to sound too crazy, but like a more athletic version of Draymond, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I, I always thought that could be Ben Simmons, but he's just never been put in the right situation. Now I don't think this is also the right situation because they have Mikal Bridges, they have Cam
I
Johnson,
mean,
two
he had
shooters, but not
KD
in the
in
same way. Well, yeah, but that's still not the same way that Draymond is used with just like being able to play make for movement, shooters, stuff like that. It's just different. And they had his whole entire system in Golden State. If he's put like a system like that, he could be an exceptional player again. But he's not though. So another storyline for the Nets is Mikal Bridges continue to break out. Do you think he'll have he'll continue to ascend, continue to be a better player? In the playoffs, he did average 24 points, like 5 rebounds and 4 assists. The efficiency was not good. He only shot like 43% from the field. He shot 40% from 3, but he shot 78% from the free throw line, so it wasn't really good efficiency. But do you guys
the
think he'll
half
continue to
court
break
offense
out this season?
was abysmal.
Yeah, it was.
Mikal
It
Bridges is not
actually
gonna
had
get
me
enough.
perturbed. You said what, Q?
But
Now go ahead, finish what you said.
Oh yeah. No, the half court offense was abysmal. I was perturbed just watching it the whole time. Again, like Q said, I don't know if Max said it, but literally, he's a number 3 guy. So since he got put in a situation where he had to be the number 1, we seen his stats jump. We seen him work in the mid range more and all this other type stuff that we were seeing. But I think this is the most we'll see. Like for him to be effective, he'll get the stats. He'll produce 23, 24 points per game. Now he's going to be able to do it for accumulation of 82 games because we know he can play that amount of games. So his stats are going to be there. Is it going to be effective? Is it going to lead to winning? No, because he's just not that level of player. He can be an elite number 3, possibly raise his game to be a number 2 on a championship team. But I think that's a little bit too far, if we're being honest. So yeah, we're gonna see him put up the stats. We're gonna see him give numbers and stuff like that. But no. He's cooked. Like I don't want to say he's cooked, but he's just not that number 1 guy.
Can I go next? I feel like I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be like able to kind of give my final verdict on that until we see him like play with somebody else. Because I think like it is a case of is he actually playing like that, or is just like what I said, like the opportunity, right? Like if he leaves, is Cam Johnson doing the same thing, right? Just getting the shots up, is he putting up the same production just because he has the opportunity? You know what I mean? Like he obviously could not get that opportunity behind Ayton, behind Booker, behind Chris Paul. Like you had a lot of guys that play behind as far as the scoring went. So I'm more curious. Like I don't think he gets moved. But if they do bring in a guy like what you were saying, like Siakam, if they bring in a guy like Siakam, is he still being efficient? Is he still putting up 25 points a game? You know what I mean? Like is that staying up or is that dropping? If it's dropping, then I think we know and we see that, it was just because of opportunity. If it's not, then it's obviously whatever because of his play style. I think him being good on the offensive and defensive side of the ball is good. I think that will obviously keep him in games more. He won't be unplayable because I don't know. There are many games where he's terrible on both sides of the ball. Like I think last year he was like the only shining thing on that, or the only like shining moment on that Nets team. I guess besides Claxton. Claxton played pretty well, but I don't know. I mean, the Nets are that one team where, especially with Cam Johnson, like when given the opportunity, a lot of guys have balled out. So I don't know if it's just their system or if it's just whatever. But I think Mikal Bridges is actually a good basketball player. I don't think he's a complete fake stats, padded stats guy. But to what extent, I don't know.
Yeah, people was comparing him to when James Harden left OKC. I saw people saying that. I seen people saying that, man. That was ridiculous. You guys have a breakout player for this next team. Like this is another team where it's hard to really have one because of the experience on the roster, the young players. You guys have a breakout player.
I just had Cam Johnson. Averaged 15 last year. I think that emerges maybe 20. I think Cam Johnson will have more opportunities, so I'll say Cam Johnson.
I don't have a breakout player for this team. These players are pretty much who they are. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are pretty much who they are. You got to remember, they're not 25, like 22 years old. They're 27, 28. They're in their prime right now. And their prime ain't top of the line, top of the league. Like, Mikal Bridges is barely, in my opinion, he's barely a top 30 player. I mean, he probably really is like top 35, probably top 40. Like, he's in that area. You probably got to argue it. He doesn't score like a number one. He's a pin down, basically a pin down merchant, damn near, and a catch and shoot guy. Like his best role was what he was in Phoenix. I know we don't want to disrespect the players because you see them doing what they're doing, but role matters, opportunity matters. Nobody else is gonna get the ball first other than him in Brooklyn. So obviously he's gonna put up these numbers. Like it's not really much that he's gonna do. Like he's a number three. Like he's just number three in the number one role right now. Julius Randle's the number three in the number one role, and was in the number one role. He was putting up 24 and 10. Like what you do for your team matters. Like who you are on your team. Like he just happened to be the best player on the team. The team is just not as good.
So as far as a breakout, do you like Clowney or Whitehead or not really?
Nobody. I was gonna. They're not like T said. The young players aren't gonna do too much because they still have like. There's a lot of depth. Like DFS and all of them, they still gonna get minutes over Clowney and Whitehead, so they're not gonna really shine too much. And the players that are already there, they're already who they are, so they're not gonna do much more.
I think Clowney. Sorry, I think Clowney like will get a little crowded in that. I think there's a lot of forwards on that team. I think Whitehead can get some minutes though. I think they lost shooting. I think Whitehead can get some minutes as far as shooting goes. If he can show he can be an effective shooter in the league, I think he could actually get some minutes in that backcourt rotation.
I do want to say,
yeah.
I
Whitehead
think
is gonna.
I
You got it.
I think Noah Klein. I think Nicholas Claxton is not a finished product yet. He's still a young player. We don't know if Nicholas Claxton is a finished product. He could potentially, if they're going to be any breakout player on this team, Nicholas Claxton could continue to develop his offensive game, whether that's developing like some type of mid-range shot, becoming a better passer in the pick and roll situations and dribble handoff situations. We don't know what Nicholas Claxton is. He could continue to become a better defender. We know he's a good isolation defender, good switch defender, but when he comes to guarding, bigger centers, he's liable to get finished on. So pause. And then
I agree. I love Nick. I love Nick Claxton. I agree with this take, but that was bad.
That was crazy.
Anyways,
liable to get finished on.
Claxton, that was terrible.
Anyways, bro,
Like him like
bro, but
that.
I think he was talking about in his presser, like he felt like he should have been an all NBA defender. So if he becomes an all NBA defender, that's a breakout essentially. So
But
yeah, I
he
think
was already he technically was already an All NBA defender. Like he didn't get the stat, but we knew like he probably could have got that. He probably pretty deserved it. So if he just did it, they're just gonna give him what he deserved last year. Like it's whatever.
All
You're
right.
great. You're a good defender. Cool.
The
We
next,
know that already.
the next under over win total. I think Vegas knows that this team is going to regress a lot. Their win total is 36.5. So are you going over or under for that?
I think that's perfect. I think you don't touch it. They win up just about 36 games.
Under.
I'm gonna go over. I think it's. I think go like 37 to 41. I think
They got 45 wins last.
45,
They got 45 wins
45.
last year. They got 45 wins last year. Like I said, they were bad after the trade deadline. I think they're competing for a playing spot, but I think they miss it. I think they go under.
Yeah, I think they win like 37, 38 games.
Give me like 35, 36 wins, like literally right on the line, but under.
Yeah, I'm going under.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to probably the team that has had the most drama-filled and explosive offseason, arguably in the NBA, but definitely in this division. The Sixers, their season preview, their losses and additions. They lost. Honestly, this team kind of just didn't do much. Well, it did a little bit. Additions: Patrick Beverly, Mo Bamba, Danny Green, coming off his injury still. Kelly Oubre, who was an underrated signing, honestly, averaged 20 points last year. Then they lost Shake Milton.
You forgot about
Shake
Kelly.
Milton. Montrezl Harrell, they lost Jalen McDaniels, and they lost George Niang.
Where'd Montrezl Harrell go?
He got injured like in the.
I thought Montrezl got re-signed.
He got injured like in the offseason.
He's still there.
Let me look at that. I thought I looked yesterday. He was not on there. Let me see.
No, Montrezl is still there.
He was on the roster. He just can't. I don't think he's playing. He got injured in the offseason.
I was like, maybe he didn't sign, but I thought he was still there.
I'm looking at the ESPN depth chart. He's not on here. So I don't know, bro.
They probably released him. I remember. I think he like tore a meniscus or something playing like summer ball or something like that.
Let me go look. Chris Harrell.
Unless that was last season, but I'm pretty sure he got hurt playing with Frank Nitti in him.
Yeah, he did get hurt in the Drew League, wherever it is.
I don't know. I think Pat Bev kind of gets some personnel in there. The only move, I guess, is Kelly Oubre for me, but I don't even know what his ceiling is anymore.
Kelly Oubre is literally who you're gonna slot in for Tobias Harris once Tobias Harris gets traded at the deadline. Because Tobias Harris is what for the team right now, fourth option, averaging 17, 18. Kelly Oubre just averaged 20. He could come in and literally take Tobias Harris minutes, be just as good as a defender, just as good as a scorer. You
think that's the same though, Q?
I think it's a little drop.
It doesn't have to be like a 1-for-1, like a perfect, thing. But Kelly Oubre is a forward. He could take Tobias Harris forward minutes. Try to get whatever you get for Tobias at the deadline. And you got Kelly Oubre already there. He's cheap. All this is with a disclaimer though. If James Harden's on the team, you feel me? They should be like, this should be the last year. This is the last year for this Philly team, possibly with Joel Embiid. So they have to do whatever they can to try to win this year. Or Joel Embiid is either on the move at the end of the year or at trade deadline to a Knicks, who they, I know we talked about him already. Or we didn't talk about him yet, but that's a team he could go to. He could possibly end up on the Nets because they also have the assets to go get him. It's just a matter of like what the team look like come trade deadline. But they should be looking fine as much as they can because they do have Joel Embiid. No matter how bad of a player you think he is, or injury concerns or whatever, he was the MVP. He's going to be 30-12. Should carry this team to about 45 wins. So we just want to see him make it, do it in the playoffs. The roster, they lost a lot. They lost some, but they gained some. They probably just pretty much stagnant.
Okay, so not much to talk about in the additions and loss department. I do think this roster is underwhelming, especially if James Harden leaves. I don't know what they're going to get back from, but I think it's an underwhelming roster, especially with you see the Celtics and the Bucks making these moves, and you look at the Sixers, they didn't do really much. Let's get into major storylines. How do you guys side on the Harden versus Morey situation? Now we've seen James Harden has reported to training camp. reportedly he was going to report the training camp and cause a scene. I haven't really seen him cause any type of scene. And all the clips I've seen, he's just been playing like a regular player to me. Who is in the right in this Harden versus Morey situation?
Morally, as being humans, like business side, Harden was right because he took a shorter deal to help the team with a handshake agreement that he's gonna get the extension that he wanted, this off season. Morey ain't hold up his end of the deal. He treated it like a business, didn't give it to him, and now it's straight. And Morey was his guy. They've been together for forever, basically, damn near. Like he did his man's wrong. That's the bottom line. Like, but James Harden also forgot that this is a business. But it's right for him to forget that because he was never treated like this. The NBA is a business because he's been the best player on it. His team for a long amount of time, except barring the last 3 years because he's been with KD and Joel Embiid. But he's pretty much got everything he wanted. Like he's not getting everything he wants now, so it's like it feels a little weird. And this is basically a culture shock to him. In NBA terms, it's more his fault. He did it. He did his job, just like Joe Cronin did his job. Morally, James Harden was right to do what he wanted and do what he did. So it depends on like what you back them on.
I'd say it's the same thing. Like I agree with what you're saying, and like even more, like he was not the top guy on Brooklyn, right? That was KD's team. KD was the best player on there. I don't think anyone was shying away from that. But he still got the move he wanted, right? Like even though he wasn't the top guy, he still got the respect and got the move he wanted. So I think going to Philly, where if he wants to accept it or not, the top guy is Joel Embiid, and like I don't think majority of people are going to fight that. Maybe he might, but I think then especially with what you just got what you wanted back then, and now you have your friend as the GM. Like I thought he'd be like whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like mentally, like you're thinking, okay, like cool. If I want to get a move, I can get a move.
Everything all good, like
yeah, because like literally, I mean, he had him in Houston. Daryl Morey and him obviously worked at Houston. Got Western Conference Finals, didn't work out. That's fine. They had great years in Houston, but like had that friendship. He wanted to go to Philly to get with Daryl Morey to play with Joel Embiid. Now that whole thing didn't work, and now he wants out. And yeah, I don't know. Daryl Morey obviously is thinking from the business side, and Harden's obviously thinking more of the moral side. But I don't know. It's I hope he gets moved. Just so I'm not gonna say I don't actually really care, but from a Sixers side, you hope he gets moved. You don't want the saga to drag out anymore. I think you want him off your team. The biggest piece this year, which I know is the next topic, is Tyrese Maxey and his it's how much he can elevate. Tyrese Maxey is what puts them to a 50-win team, what puts them to a 40-win team, a 30-win, right? Like I don't think they'll get 30 wins, but it kind of dictates what they're going to do, in my opinion. Embiid is Embiid. If he gets injured, I guess he's out. But Joel Embiid, we know what we're getting. MVP caliber player, top 10 player in the league, that's fine. Tyrese Maxey is what dictates if this team goes to a top 3 seed or a bottom 3 seed. That's the breakout player for me. That's everything. This team is relying on Tyrese Maxey. Granted that Embiid stays healthy.
Yeah, Max hit the nail on the head. I don't have too much to say. Everything he said really was spot on.
Okay, so I've said from the start that I think James Harden in this specific situation is indeed right. If you agree to a deal, despite if it's not a contract or it's not legal, it's in like the best interest of the relationship for Daryl Morey to adhere to that. I mean, he took a pay cut last season to help this team contend for a title, to bring in the DeAnthony Melton, who they got through a trade, and PJ Tucker, and Jalen McDaniels, and all those people they got last season. You have to honor that. I think he should have. Do I think James Harden went about it the right way? As far as the antics over the offseason, no. He couldn't really test the market because all of the teams that had money was a rebuilding team. And he couldn't go to Houston because they chose Fred VanVleet, because Fred VanVleet wouldn't take the ball away from Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun and players that need to develop. What?
Yeah. Did you see that thing that just came out with like the?
I'm not. Stephen A. is
you not believing that?
No, I'm not. No.
Why?
I'm not.
Why?
No, because that's just I can't believe whatever. I really take whatever Stephen A. says with a grain of salt at this point. Like, I really can't believe it.
He hasn't been on, like, his sources don't be real sources. He just be going on TV yapping, and he know people going to say,
At this point, I can't really believe Stephen A.
He washed the department to me.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think James Harden isn't all
Yeah,
right. I don't know what they're
did
gonna
he
do.
say?
He said James Harden came in and basically said, like, yeah, you know, like, I want to be here. Like, I want to be the scoring champ again. Like, said all that stuff. And Ime was basically like, what? Like, he didn't want to, like, have him be the scorer. He wanted, like, to develop his youth. He didn't want
That's the reason he took the contract off the table because he wanted.
yeah, he didn't want to hinder the development of the young guys. So he's, like, took the
Whatever,
contract off
bro.
the table. They
To
said
be
Harden
fair,
Harden play out
to be fair to Stephen A, I think Ime Udoka did come out kind of to the point of that though. He said he chose Fairbairn because he feel like James Harden will potentially take the ball away from Jalen Green, Sengun, Jabari Smith, players that need the ball, need to develop and stuff like that. Which is it's kind of what Stephen A said. I just don't know if he was like if James Harden actually went in the contract negotiations or when he talked to Ime Udoka, he said, "I want to be a scoring champion." Like I just don't know if that's the completely accurate. Stephen A got to boost it a little bit for television. But another storyline for the team is Tyrese Maxey extension. They elect to not extend him. He's due for one of those big rookie extensions. So I don't know if they're waiting to see if he can break out this year. I don't know what they're waiting on. What do you think they're waiting on? Why do you think they haven't extended Tyrese Maxey?
Harden. It wasn't Harden? Wasn't the whole Harden thing the reason they waited on it?
No. I don't think so.
I think personally, it's one or two things, because they said they're not trading him for Michael Jordan, whatever, sure, but it's a matter between if they can get a great offer, and like if somebody gives them an offer that they can't refuse, they'll trade him, and he's gonna be a good piece because he's a great young player on a cheap deal, or they're waiting for him to really come out and average 25 and 6 on his he's very efficient and be like a number 2 guy. They just got to see it.
So I don't know. Maybe this. I mean, it sounds crazy. In my opinion, if I'm Philly, I would rather keep Tyrese Maxey right now than Joel Embiid. I will trade Joel Embiid for the superstar package. Let me restart this team. Let me get this reboot going already. I would much rather keep Tyrese Maxey, who seems to be happy, who seems to want to be in Philly. You know what I'm saying? Hasn't, I don't think, shown much, I guess, disgust with the team. Embiid, I don't know. He has those moments where you're kind of wondering if he really wants to be in Philly, if he wants to go compete. Like, I don't know what Maxey's package is going to be, but like I don't see a star or a player that you're going to trade for Tyrese Maxey. It's going to put you in this championship conversation. So then you're just losing Maxey, and you're going to have to lose Embiid the next year too. So I think the rebuild needs to start sooner than later if it's not working out this year. And I think you keep Maxey and you trade Embiid for the superstar package from New York, from Brooklyn, from Miami, from LA. You know what I mean? Whoever wants him. I don't know who that is, but I think if it doesn't work out, you keep Maxey. I think he could be a great player in the future. He could be the new catalyst for your team, and you just try and build from there.
All right. So how do the Sixers keep Joel Embiid happy? We know he's seeing all this stuff happening around the league where organizations are trading for franchise changing pieces, whether it's Drew Holiday, whether it's Damian Lillard. Well, I just said franchise changing pieces with Drew Holiday, but you know what I mean. Pieces to put them in championship position.
A little bit, like adding those pieces to a franchise, a championship, franchise changer, a championship, whatever.
There is no way to keep Joel Embiid happy because there's nobody that they can go get to pair with Joel Embiid. With James Harden's not there because Tyrese Maxey. I don't want to say he's not there yet, but he's not there yet. Like even if he goes out average 25, it won't be like a number 2 on a championship team, 25 points per game. It'll just be him averaging 25 points per game, and he just looks a lot better.
I think
to make him happy, you send him to New York, you let him play because it's probably gonna be him for Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, and 4 first-round picks. Now it's him, Julius, and Jalen Brunson, all the players they got, and that's how you get him happy. But you also get happy yourself. Julius Randle is not really like important, but him next to with Maxey and all the pieces that they already signed, they should be fine. They're gonna be competing and whatnot. New coach. We ain't really talk about Nick Nurse, but they got a new coach. He might I'm pretty sure he wants Joel Embiid, but if he has to restart it, you get Tyrese Maxey. They got 4 draft picks, and they could just restart from there. Like it might just be time, and Nick Nurse probably he'll have 5 years to work with Maxey, and in 2 years from time, they'll have the assets to go out and get a starter pair of Maxey later on, and Joel Embiid is doing what he do on the Knicks or wherever he ends up.
I think the process is over, and that's not to say that this team's a failure this year. I think the front office, the moves made, the players before failed it. I think you had your chances to win with the Simmons teams, with Harden's team last year. You had your chances. I think you cut your ties this year. You try and capitalize. If Joel Embiid's playing at that MVP level in January, February, you try and ship him off for top value to a New York, to whoever, and you started now. Like what you said, like I don't think that means firing Nick Nurse. I think he's a good coach. If you can get him to develop a culture, to develop a team, get some youth and put them under Nick Nurse, put them under Tyrese Maxey, whoever else you got, you start the rebuild now. Like I think this process is over. I'm not really holding my breath to see if NBA is going to be in that Eastern Conference Finals this year.
All right, so one breakout player from the Sixers. Obviously, everyone's gonna say Tyrese Maxey because he's gonna get the opportunity with James Harden, but I'm gonna go somewhere different. I think Jaden Springer showed a lot this summer in summer league. They've been looking for a breakout from him for the past few seasons. I think with James Harden off the team and this overall roster not being too great, he can get the opportunity to break out this year. I like him coming out of Tennessee, a top pick in the draft. I think Jaden Springer could be a breakout player if he develops driving the ball to the basket. I think he's gonna be a commented defender. I think he'll be operate a little bit in the mid range. So I like Jaden Springer, and I think he'll be a breakout candidate on the Sixers team.
The only other person I'd say is Kelly Oubre. Is if the opportunity arises, I think Kelly Oubre could slide into that role. Like Q, what you're saying.
I feel like the JD Springer thing. I feel like we've been hearing that for a minute. But also, with the Kelly Oubre thing, yeah, I don't know. I just haven't seen it with like good teams. Of course, he hasn't been on a particularly good team before, except really the Wizards. And when he was on the Wizards, he was a younger player, so he was averaging like 11 and 12 points and stuff like that. But we've really seen him like those years when he was averaging 18 and 12 points. It was on a terrible Phoenix team. He averaged 20 on a terrible Hornets team. So I don't know if like necessarily if he can step in and give you 18 on a decent team like Tobias Harris is doing, but I guess I could see it. I think he can give you around like 15, something like that. I know people gonna say that's one basket. But yeah, I would probably say Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, Tyrese Maxey is probably gonna be everybody pick. All right, let's get to the over/under win total. Is it at 48.5? Do you think they'll fall under that with all I think at this point James Harden's gonna be on the team, but who really knows? They go over/under.
Under.
I'm gonna say over. 49 wins is doable if you have a top 10 player in the league and a decent enough roster, especially if James Harden is still there. Tyrese Maxey still there. How many games did they win when it was Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey by themselves with Tobias? I'm pretty sure it's probably around
they were on pace for 54 before they got James Harden.
You feel me? So they're still gonna run through teams. They have at worst the fourth best player in the East, but I'm pretty sure it's the second. So
I think you'll still have dysfunction though. You'll still have distrust between ownership and players. Like I don't think it's going to be this seamless season with Jake Harden out of the question. I think there'll be Embiid trade rumors the rest of the year. Like I don't think it'll be a smooth running season for Philly. So
I'm gonna go
to the Knicks.
Okay. Yeah. 1 second. Over/under. I'm gonna go. It's kind of hard to go under because you really think about it. People in there for the third contender is like not really anyone. I think like maybe the Knicks, can they get that third seed, but like you think about it, they won 51 games last year and they were on pace for 54 games without Harden. If Harden is on the team, I go over. If he's off the team, I'm gonna go under. I think they probably won like around 47 games around
right there.
Yeah, right there at it. But the next team is the New York Knicks. Another one of those teams that did not do a lot this offseason, like literally nothing at all. When I was coming up with these storylines and stuff like that, and even look at their additions and losses, it wasn't much. They really just stayed put. But it's not like their roster is terrible or anything like that. Their additions were Dante DiVincenzo, who had a good year last year with the Warriors. They lost Obi Toppin to the Pacers and lost Derrick Rose to the Grizzlies. So as far as like their losses, Obi Toppin didn't really get a chance to show his what he could be as a player because he had to play behind Julius Randle. I think he'll thrive in his role over in Indiana. And then Dante DiVincenzo, adding him, I think it'll be good for the shooting and the defense of the team. So he's gonna be a good piece. Obviously, it's Dante DiVincenzo. Derrick Rose didn't play at all, so really wasn't much of a loss. You guys have any thoughts about the losses and additions on the team?
The losses don't move me
No,
at all. Didn't play. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the losses don't move me because they literally didn't play. Derrick Rose did not get minutes, and Tibbs did not play Obi Toppin. So like the losses don't really.
No, that moves me. That moves me. That moves. First, earlier in the season, I went. Sometimes I like to just go into like spaces and stuff where like it'll be like Knicks fans or Toronto fans or Rockets fans, especially. All the stuff all the emotions that came out of me with Bias Houston and whatever his name was. That shit was sick. But going back to what I was saying, Knicks fans were saying Obi Toppin was a good piece when he actually played. The thing is, Tom Thibodeau is a trash coach. Tom Thibodeau is trash. That's the problem. First off, we've seen him ruin Derrick Rose, and again, he's that grit and grind type of guy, getting the best out of his players defensively. But he's terrible. The league has moved on. You have guys like Obi Toppin. You have somebody like Derrick Rose, and again, I'm a huge Derrick Rose fan, but I'm objective. I'm realistic. I'm not expecting Derrick Rose to be that guy for you, but then again, he can still play. He can still provide for his team. So I feel like Tibbs is terrible. Tibbs needs to get out of New York. Tibbs is ass. I'm sorry. I don't mess with Tibbs, bro. I don't mess with Tibbs. When it comes to the roster construction, again, you have Julius Randle here, who's a true number 3, like we stated. Jalen Brunson, a number 2, something like that. The Knicks aren't going to go far. It's probably going to be the same thing that happened last year. But Tibbs is mid. Tibbs is very mid. I'm very tired of him. He's over with. You ruin my favorite player. You're gonna keep ruining things. You can't develop any players. For some reason, you don't like playing players who are like rookies or sophomore year players. So he's terrible. I mean, I'm over it.
All right, bro, right here just lied completely. Like he just lied, like 100%. What is Quentin Grimes? What is Quentin Grimes?
No, Quentin Grimes is different.
Second year player. He played him. What is IQ? This is his 3rd year. He's been playing IQ.
No. That's different. That's different. That's different.
And Knicks fans, real Knicks fans, are split. It's the fake ones who don't that are really casual that believe Obi Toppin is cool because they saw him score 30 points when Julius Randle was out 3 times in the season, and it's the real Knicks fans that really understand that Obi Toppin is who he is. He's just a dunker. He's not good. That's why he wasn't playing. Obi Toppin doesn't move, like he's not a needle mover on the team. Like he's just not. Tibbs his ass, but they made it to the 2nd round. How? I don't know. Whatever. They have a top defense. Quentin, he literally a 2nd year player. Quentin Grimes was playing 30 minutes a night in the starting lineup. IQ just got a bag because he played. He allowed him to play 25 minutes a night. He gave Jalen Brunson the keys to the offense, to the team, and they took off. I don't see how Tibbs is at. Tibbs not Steve Kerr, but Tibbs ain't whoever the bottom 5 coaches in the league is. That's just not true. Like they're gonna win about 5 games again, and they're gonna be fine.
I took the ass part out. Again, I feel like we're saying the same. I feel like we're saying the same thing. I said that they're going to be in the same spot as last year.
You can't take it back. You can't take it back. You definitely not taking it back. It's going on big time.
I don't.
Bro's weird. First, I take it back and say he's mid. I'm not gonna say he's ass.
He
gets the right things out of his player. He's a defensive-minded coach. Their defense is always gonna be cool, but just developing players, he does not do that. And then he ruined my guy, Derrick Rose. He ruined him. Somebody who could have helped his team, and you're not playing Derrick Rose. What are we doing? You ruined him. Like he's gone. He's done.
Derrick Rose can have the team this year. Derrick Rose can have the team this year. That's not true.
He developed. You don't even he developed Quentin Grimes into a starter.
It's because Quentin Grimes. He fits.
What?
He fits.
What's Quentin Grimes? What's Quentin Grimes?
Quentin Grimes went from 6.6 6 minutes a game to like 30.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I love Tibbs. I'm not gonna sit here and say I hate Tibbs. He's coaching, right? Defensively, he's good. I don't like the way he holds grudge against players sometimes, it seems like. But I'm disagreeing with you guys as far as I think it's gonna be the same Knicks team. I think this team takes a little bit of a jump. I like the versatility as far as the wings on this team. My breakout player is Quentin Grimes. He's working with JJ Redick this offseason. Y'all see that? I'm sorry. I think that's what I'm saying. I think he's gonna be better. I think he'll be a better scorer, better defender. I think he'll be used a little bit more.
People take what I say wrong, bro. It's cool, bro.
I like Quentin Grimes this year.
It's cool, bro.
You literally just said Tibbs is ass. That's no whatever. Like,
but literally after that, literally right after I said he was ass, I was like,
you thought about what you said.
That's the over exaggeration. He's mad.
I think this team takes a little bit of a jump. I think DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, you got a lot of versatility. I think again they're in the pool to trade for these big stars. You put them next to Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Julius Randle as a 1, not good, like we said, but as a 3. Jalen Brunson as a 2. If you could bring in a guy like Joel Embiid and put him in there, team looks a lot more interesting to me. You have defensive versatility. You have some shooting. Like this team, if you could put a star around it, this team's very likable. I'm sorry, this team is very likable if you put a star around it.
Star like who?
Like Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid on this team is interesting to me. You have defensive pieces. You have a defensive-minded head coach. You bring Joel Embiid in there to guarantee you 30 points a game. You bring Jalen Brunson. I did not like him before last year. I was not high on him. I didn't think he was going to be this all-star level player. Balled out. Jalen Brunson, I think, could be a number 2 on a championship team. I think if you put the right one around him. I like Jalen Brunson a lot. He showed what he could do. As far as the playoffs, he elevated. This Knicks team, I'm not normally high on the Knicks. I do think New York can be good. I don't think we're saying they're a top 2, 3 seed, 4 seed maybe without the addition of a big guy. But I think that we could, I don't know. We'll talk about the over-unders, but I think that they are a little bit better than last year.
I kind of agree with Jaden saying, but I agree he took it too far with him being trash. But I think Tom Thibodeau is the epitome of a mid-head coach. He can raise your floor. He can get you. He's a defensive-minded coach. He can get you a top 10 defense. Actually, surprisingly, the Knicks were a very good offense this year as well. I don't know if people knew that, but
they were number 2. They were number 2.
They were a good offense this year. But I do think that is in part to having 2 of the best ISO scorers in the NBA with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. But I would like to say his offensive philosophy is pretty outdated. I think his coaching style is pretty outdated. As far as like him running players into the ground, he plays like these psychological games with he plays like these psychological games with like players where he doesn't play them and then he does play them, and it's kind of weird like that as you watch throughout the course of the season. But I agree with Jaden to an extent. I personally think this is one of our storylines. Is Tibbs on the hot seat? Possibly after the season, they have made the playoffs twice with him being in the regime. But I think if the Knicks get to a point where they're stagnant and they're making a second round or something like that, then they may look on a move for him, because I feel like his offensive philosophy is outdated. His coaching philosophy is outdated. He's not like, he doesn't really do much sets. He doesn't do nothing like that. You know, it's other minds in the NBA that are much better than him. And I think I don't know if there are many like people available for that can be upgraded, but I do think Coach Tibbs, he's not on the hottest of seats in the NBA. No, nothing like that. But if he got fired at the end of the season, like they could make the playoffs or like a first round exit, possibly, then I think they could move on for him, because I think he is stale. I think his offensive, he's not creative offensively. His leadership style is very, very old fashioned. So I think he is on the hot seat, honestly. Another storyline I have.
I think
do you disagree with anything I said or no?
It's in between for me, because this is another one. This Knicks team right here. They know they have the assets to go get the Joel Embiid. So I don't think, like, especially with the new regime and the Leon Rose and all that, I think they're gonna allow Tibbs to actually get a chance. Like, if they make the move for Joel Embiid, I think they'll give Tibbs the year with Joel Embiid to try, or like at least if they do a mid-season trade, say that goes down, they'll see what it looks like with Tibbs and Joel Embiid, and see if they can get it, because they were in the second round. I believe, like, if they had Joel Embiid with this current roster, which they probably most likely would, minus a Mitch Robinson, and let's say RJ Barrett or whatever, you just swap out RJ, put in Josh Hart in the starting lineup. It's pretty much the same to me. If I have Joel Embiid, they probably beat Miami and go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So this year, if they do make that trade, they got to at least make the ECF for Tibbs to keep his job. But if they go out in the second round again, then in the summer they make the trade, they're going to give him at least a year with Joel Embiid. But if he does get fired, I won't be upset. It wouldn't really matter. They're probably still going to make the trade anyway or make a trade in general. So it could go either way.
All right. So another
Q.
storyline is go ahead.
Hold on. I'm just trying to ask you a question. So you're being from you're from New York. I don't really know. I really know like your teams of football, but what are your teams for basketball? I don't know. I didn't know you're like a Knicks fan.
I'm not a Knicks fan at all.
Business
Not even
gang.
close.
Business gang. We here. We
Not
here.
even close.
We here.
I was an OKC fan. Well, I'm still an OKC fan because that was it's KD. That's my second favorite player of all time. Well, he's my favorite player of all time. I just think LeBron's the GOAT, so he has to be in my top 5. But I still rock with OKC. Obviously, I'm a LeBron fan, so I'm a root for the Lakers. And then, like, I'm really like a player supporter. So, like, I don't want it's not like I want the Detroit to win a chip, but I love for Cade Cunningham, to be good. And, it's a bunch of players like that I watch around the league. Like, but I'm not going to be, I don't care if they win, but if he putting up 40, I'm rocking with him. The Knicks, they're New York, so I'm not going to, like, let people slander them too crazy. I'm going to start coming up here lying.
I was lying. See, the crazy thing is, Latif literally said damn near the same thing I said, besides the ass and the expletives. And you do agree, bro.
All he said was Tibbs can't run the offense. That's all Tibbs said. Tibbs can't run the offense, and that's true.
That's what I said. I said his coaching is outdated.
You were ordered with top a lot, but this is year 5 for RJ. This is year 5 for RJ Barrett. I personally think this is the year to trade RJ Barrett. We know what he is. He's overpaid. He's not good in the playoffs. He's not a good shooter. He's not typically a good defender. Like nothing he really does stands out to you. And so for this team to make that next jump, RJ Barrett has to be packaged in a trade with the picks they have and maybe like Emmanuel Quickly for a Joel Embiid, for maybe a Zach LaVine, someone to upgrade this team. So talk to me about year 5 RJ Barrett and what you're expecting from him. If he can salvage his career in New York, because I know most Knicks fans want to package him in a trade, possibly increase his value so he can have some value in a trade. What are you guys expecting from RJ Barrett in year 5? Go ahead. I'm gonna start with Jaden because I know you had a lot of thoughts about RJ Barrett last time we talked about him.
No. This is gonna be very quick. RJ Barrett stinks. I remember when it was Zion and Ja Morant, RJ. It was like they just wanted there to be a third guy, and it was obvious that he just wasn't up there. RJ,
That's not true.
Stink,
That's
buddy.
not true. That's not true.
No. It was that was Knicks fans. That was Knicks fans trying to salvage, just trying to be a part of something. I always knew that RJ wasn't that guy. And I just always knew it. RJ, you stink, bro. RJ stinks.
How you knew that?
I remember when they were talking about a trade package, getting Zach LaVine to New York or something like that, and RJ Barrett was a part of it. I didn't want that at all. I'm not a fan of RJ Barrett. I honestly don't know what he does well. Like, what does RJ Barrett actually do well? Actually, he's not the best slasher, but I mean that's really the best part of his game. A best thing about his game. Like, what does RJ Barrett actually do well? Q.
Attack the basket.
But he doesn't even do that. He doesn't even do that exceptionally well.
That's not true. RJ Barrett tries. He's just not the best player. To say
he tries is crazy.
He tries is crazy. Q, that was ridiculous. RJ is just not good, bro. He's not good.
He tries and he gets 20 points per game. It can be a fluky 20 points. He is what he is right now. He's 20 points per game. Like, that's all he is. But I mean, expect him to be packing his bag soon. But to say like you always knew, don't do that because you're speaking in hindsight. Because RJ Barrett from like 14 years old up until 19, RJ Barrett was basically him. Like I don't want people to just start lying on RJ Barrett.
I knew when I was watching that Duke team, and it just looked like RJ was forced.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Latif, please.
He watched Duke. Zion is his favorite player. Zion is his favorite player. You know he watched Duke, bro. He watched Duke all the time.
I don't even think he watched Zion.
He's
gonna be talking like Zion the way he do.
No, he watched every single Duke game. I was
literally, bro. Please.
He wasn't talking about RJ like this though. I
That's
can
how
tell you that.
See,
I can tell you that.
You're lying. You're literally lying.
I don't know about that.
I knew RJ wasn't that guy. Like I knew it was Ja, Zion, and then like they just wanted RJ to be that guy up there. Because RJ was like the consensus number one pick before like the college season started.
I wonder why.
High school player.
I wonder why.
No, he was him at Moderator. He was him. But
Bro was backpacking Team Canada by himself.
no, he was. He was. Do y'all got a breakout player for this team? Is it another one of them teams where it's hard to have a breakout player because IQ already broke out? Unless you gonna say Jay.
I don't think so. I think I got Quinn Grimes, but I think you could say Josh Hart, and I think you could say Dante DiVincenzo. I think one of those three guys is going to get.
What does the Josh Hart breakout look like?
Stop.
What
I think
does that
one
look
of
like?
those three guys will get like
what?
What the
I'm
hell?
sorry, that's not. I don't think
Josh
that's
Hart who he is, bro.
man. Oh my
Josh
god.
Hart is who he is, bro. He's not gonna get much better. Like he is who he is. Like he might take a jump in 3-point shooting, but not that much. And
One of those
Dante,
three Villanova guys. I think Quinn Grimes has the time, right? He's got 30 minutes a game last year, so I still think he takes a jump, even though he got 30 minutes. What is he going to get? 35? Sure. I think he's going to be more efficient with it. I think Josh Hart or Dante DiVincenzo might slide in, especially with a trade. If they trade for Embiid and lose some of that depth and need to rely on one of those guys, I think they could. But I'll go with Quentin Grimes.
I think Quentin Grimes is a good pick. You just have to mention Josh Hart. That is unnecessary.
yeah, that's crazy.
My last out of the three, I think DiVincenzo before Josh Hart, but still.
And IQ not gonna like it won't be IQ for the simple fact that if they do make a trade, they already got IQ replacement in Dante DiVincenzo. Like IQ doesn't do much more than what Dante was doing for Golden State. Like IQ is a good defender, but
Dante's a great spark plug for Golden State.
Dante could defend a little bit. IQ a good enough shooter. Dante can shoot. Dante can pass. He can play make. It's not they don't lose much when the IQ to Dante drop off. And Quentin Grimes, he defends better than both of them. So I don't think they're gonna really break out too much. And if they trade for Joel Embiid, whatever they lost, Joel Embiid is gonna pick up the slack. But like current standing, it's probably Jalen Brunson again. Even though we kind of already seen him break out, by him breaking out, I just mean he probably just gets the actual recognition. He probably gets the All-Star nod. He probably gets the All-NBA nod, and that would be his form of like getting his due that he should have probably got last year. Even though I don't think he probably would have made All-NBA because guards were crazy last year. Like Kyrie damn near could have made it. He was excellent last year, numbers wise. So yeah, it's pretty tough.
I agree with Max on a Quentin Grimes, breakout player possibly. I like Quentin Grimes. I think he can continue to prove he's gotten better every single year. And I think he'll have a bigger role this year. Jaden, do you have a breakout player for the Knicks?
No, not really.
That's fine. Over under win totals for the Knicks is going to be at 45.5.
Over. Give me the over. Give me the over. Give me the over.
Yeah, I'll take the over.
I think
Probably like 50.
I think they play
Probably
well.
like 50.
Give me the over. 50. 50 is a lot. I'm sorry. I'm saying like 48.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get it's 2 games, but 50 sounds a lot for this team unless they get Embiid. But jeez,
I think just get that 48.
I don't think 50 is actually kind of. It's not that crazy to me. I think they could take a small little jump. How many games they won last year? Like 44, 45?
45.
How many games they won last year? 45 games last year.
47
wins.
47.
Yeah,
47.
well, yeah, 3 more wins is not insane. I'm gonna go over as well. So we
I think a lot of things have to go right. I think the East got worse, so I think they could still move up in the rankings. But I think a lot of things got to go right for them to get that 50 wins.
They're gonna be in that 4-5 spot. It just depends on what Philly is on. They could possibly be from anywhere from 3 and 5.
Cleveland too, I think.
Cleveland. Cleveland's a good regular season team last year. Okay. Last team for the Atlantic Division, the Raptors. Interesting team because we don't know where they're going. We don't know what direction they're going. They got Scotty Barnes coming off a sophomore. I don't want to say slump, but sophomore being stagnant. They lose Fred VanVleet for nothing. They're not extending Pascal Siakam, but are not trading him either. I don't know what's going on in the head of Masai Ujiri right now. I don't know what direction he wants to go. You got OG Anunoby on an expiring contract as well. Additions: Grady Dick in the draft, who I liked out of Kansas. I think he probably should have went to the Magic a little bit higher than that. What he did. Dennis Schroeder was for my Lakers last year. a decent point of attack defender. That's about it though. Jalen McDaniels.
Can I go first with this team, by the way? You keep going, but can I go first?
They also added Jalen McDaniels, and we know they lost Fred VanVleet. Go ahead, get into it, Max.
I was just saying, this team, the Raptors have kind of annoyed me for the past year and a half now because they are not a championship contender, and they have not been since Kawhi left. But they still seem to think that they are. Masai wants these big packages for OG, Pascal, whoever. I know, who was it? The New York or someone offered them 3 first-round picks for OG. They didn't take it. The packages and the trades are only going to be less, I think, for these players on expiring contracts now. And I still don't know if they're going to trade them. I don't know if Masai thinks that he can re-sign them. I don't think Pascal wants to be there anymore. And I don't even know if they're going to trade him after that. So this team's weird to me. When we talk about breakout players, it gets really hazy for me. I don't like this team. I think their direction is confusing. Their team building is confusing. I don't know if Scotty's going to take another step. And if he does, what is that step? When they were in the Dame sweepstakes, I didn't understand what they were doing there. I don't know. I think they always want to compete after winning that championship, and even before that, and they're just not in a position right now where I think they have to compete. So I think a rebuild is necessary. I just don't think if Masai's going to pull the trigger on trading everyone away. So, it's just a confusing team for me.
Same. Like, they got Grady Dick. That's cool. That's great for spacing because they're going to need the spacing. But other than that, the dishes don't really move me. Like, this team is just like, they're also the epitome of mid. Like, they're just there. Like, massages, he don't know it's like he doesn't know what he's doing with the team, or he's trying to do something that is not physically possible with these players on the team. Like, pick a direction and stick to it. The thing is, he's just picking the wrong direction. Like, you just got to know when to pivot. He hasn't learned when to pivot. It's been 4 years since you won that chip. Like, just it's whatever. Like, sometimes that gives you the grace period to take some steps back and rebuild. But he just ain't rebuild. Like, he just went on with the mid. He has to make the tough decision. He just has to make the trade. He wasted his time getting max value back when he could have got max value last year for both the top, I guess, their top 2 players on the team. Even they could have even got money for, not money, but like assets for Gary Trent. They could have got assets for Fred VanVleet. Yet, like, they could have got rid of 4 players.
Everybody could have cleaned out
10 first-round picks. But hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Calling me crazy, but they could have got a first for Gary. They could have got a first or 2 firsts for Fred VanVleet. If they really fleece somebody, they could have got 3 for OG. They probably could have got 3 for Pascal. They would have been sitting on 10 first-round picks plus their own. They probably could have got 2 more premium players in his draft and really start to rebuild and see what you got in Scotty Barnes. But it's whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this team could have honestly had a rebuild. They could have done a mini Thunder thing, right? They blew it up. They take a ton of new picks. Maybe you get, instead of some first, maybe you get a couple young pieces here and there. Like, they could have traded Gary, Fred, Pascal, OG, and completely restarted their franchise a year earlier, give the keys to Scotty, and now they didn't do that. Like, I don't get their direction with that. So
he wants to be mid, bro. He wants to be mid, and that's my problem. That's the problem that I have with teams across leagues. Like I said, I stated it before, and I'm gonna keep stating it. Being satisfied with mediocrity, I don't even think they're gonna be mediocre. This team just has no direction. I don't know what they're trying to go with. I think somebody in the Pick a Side Discord, I think it's Epic. Who's the one from Canada?
Yeah, Epic.
Yeah, I think Epic thinks that Scotty could be that guy or something. I don't know. I don't see that happening. I'm curious to what he's gonna say if he sees this, but I just don't know where they're going with this. It just needs to be blown up. They're chasing like a mediocre type thing, and I don't even think they're that. So, yeah, it's time. It's time, bro.
I agree with what everybody's saying. They definitely need to go into a rebuild. That's one of our major storylines. We can get into that. Pascal, one of the storylines was a rebuild, restructure. I think we've already answered that. We unanimously said they should rebuild. Probably doing it a year too late, and they're not gonna get equal value for maybe OG, who is on an expiring contract, Pascal, who's on an expiring contract, Gary Trent that re-signed, but possibly still move. Other storylines we have is Scotty Barnes the rebound. We know he was he had a sophomore, like not a slump, but he just stayed where he was from his rookie year when he won rookie of the year. Do you think Scotty Barnes can rebound? I know they're potentially put this man at point guard. Do you think that's the thing he can possibly do? Like talk to me about Scotty Barnes. Anybody? I'm opening up to the panel. You're muted, Max. But go ahead, Q.
Scotty, yeah, his numbers look the same this year like it did in the rookie year, but he was drastically, less efficient. But maybe that's like, he's out there with Pascal and like the shooting wasn't there because it wasn't. But Scotty, like for him to take a jump, like you gotta put him around shooters. Your big has to be able to stretch the floor and everything because he's not the best shooter himself. He's a 30% 3-point shooter. Like he's not a shooter. He looked good with the ball in his hands and in some stretches. So that's the direction you got to go in. Like that's why it's good that you have Grady Dick. You got at least one bona fide shooter that we know of from college. Like you don't know if it's going to translate, but it should. I'm not going to say it's not. Gary Trent, he can shoot obviously, but he's streaky. Dennis Schroeder's not a shooter. Pascal's not a shooter. Whoever they're running at center can't shoot. Like trade this team. Like trade everybody on this team, not named Scotty and Grady, and see what you got. Like Scotty has to prove something this third year. This is when you start looking at the rookie extensions and see if he's worth that rookie max scale extension. Because that's the first thing they have to do. They're gonna have to pay him or not pay him, and that's gonna determine your next 5 years with this team what it's gonna look like. Besides, just has to make the moves to make it look like Scotty was the pick. Scotty was the rookie of the year, whatever it is. You got to try to maximize him so you know what you're doing. But we know how that's gonna end.
No, I agree with that. So you think so? We are probably going to agree that they should also trade Pascal at the trade deadline, try to get enough his value for him as you can, especially with some contending teams, maybe looking to use him, or like a team like the Pacers or a team like Dallas, trying to get better. Because as far as Dallas, they're going to probably be in the. I don't know. They're probably going to be in the play-in this year. I don't know, man. They need a lot of. They need help, man. I don't know. It's one preseason game, but jeez. I don't know, man. But we're gonna talk about them in a later time. Do you have a breakout player from the Toronto Raptors?
It's either Scotty or it's gonna be Grady Dick, who looks amazing because he's getting a bunch of threes. Like he's gonna get up a bunch of shots. Like he might average 16 to 17 points per game just off catch and shoot because they're gonna need it. Like they're gonna get in the gym and they're gonna try to give it to him to put it up. So Scotty should be the pick because they need him to be the breakout player.
I'll go next because there's not much to say. I don't have anybody. I knew it was getting gross when I thought about putting down Dennis Schroeder. That's not happening. So Dennis Schroeder's like literally the only point guard on the roster that I'm like, oh, you can play point guard. So this team, I don't even know if Scotty's gonna make a jump, but yeah, I have no one. I don't know who's gonna make a jump. Jakob Poeltl's the only person I really have on here, to be honest.
To be fair, bro, I think.
What?
To be fair, sophomore wall is real. So to say that Scotty Barnes can't make a jump is like kind of out there. Like hitting the wall your sophomore year is we've seen this happen before. But yeah. So I'm just gonna take Scotty. I think he can improve, but I just don't know. I really don't know what the direction of this team is going and all that other stuff. But I'll take Scotty.
I think this is the actual first year where we look at OG Anunoby and we know what the hype has been around him in the last few seasons. And I think this is gonna be the first year he actually reaches that level of where it may be possible for a team to trade a first round pick or two or 5 seconds, something like that. Because if they get into the mode where they either about to trade Pascal and he gets more time with the ball in his hand, he can develop as a shot creator, creating for himself, because that's the only part of the game that we really don't see. He's developed his 3-ball a little bit. Hopefully that can continue to develop. I can possibly see OG actually taking that breakout this year, where people like to say, "Oh, OG's the thought of OG is better than actually the OG player."
Yeah.
I think.
Chill
I'm
out.
just saying, this year he can possibly actually get to the thought of OG and OG being the same player this year, possibly. If Pascal's
Q says that too.
Yeah, I say that.
Or you talking about me? Oh.
No. I was talking about both of y'all.
Actually. But it's not on some disrespectful like OG's not a good player. Just OG's not 4 first. I don't think OG's 4 first, but he's a
Should have
OG
accepted the trade. You should have accepted the trade for those first round picks because you will never get a
I
better
don't know
offer
if that
than
was
that. I'm
actually.
sorry.
I don't know if that was actually a thing. I don't know if that was actually a thing. Who knows?
Nah, it was reports. They were talking about 3 first
Yes.
rounders and 4 first rounders between Memphis and whoever else was asking for him. They offered him. They said no.
Win now
But
teams could use OG, and I could see someone just being too desperate and giving that up.
Mikal Bridges, like OG in his third option as a third option, or matter of fact, a fourth option was what 16 plus per game, 40%, like damn near 40% from 3, and locking up on defense. You know who else was doing that as the third forward option? Mikal Bridges. Like just based off that, and they don't score the same, but they're not they're never like the primary ball handler. They're usually like catch and shoot, pin downs, whatever cuts. That's how they score. OG because that's his gripe. He told Toronto he wants, more touches, more opportunities to play making, shot creating, yada yada yada. Give him with his, his tools and his numbers and the way he scores, he'll do the same thing damn near what Mikal is doing, probably average 20 points per game if he's the number one option on the team. The team won't be good, but he'll put up those numbers. And you're just thinking like you slide in OG next to Kyrie and Luka, he'll look great. Like he's gonna get a lot of shots, he's gonna lock up on defense. Like team should go out and go get him. Like, but that breakout on Toronto, I don't think that's just gonna happen because there's too many people that's gonna want to have the ball. Like Scotty has to have the ball. Dennis shouldn't have the ball, but Dennis is gonna get the ball because he's the point guard. Gary Trent be having tunnel vision. Pascal's Pascal. He's technically the best player. He's gonna have the ball. And they need a center. Jacopo's gonna, they're not gonna command touches, but you got to get your center involved. Otherwise they traded a first round pick for no reason. It's just OG just has to get out of there. It's Pascal too, but not because Pascal's bad. But your time there's up, and OG, you're not gonna get the looks and the touches that you want. So they both got to go.
All right, so over under win total for the Raptors, I think it's at 36.5. Vegas is expecting them to be around where they were last year, a fringe play-in team. We're gonna go over under for the win total for the Raptors.
Under.
I'm gonna go under too.
Am I crazy for saying it's gonna be around? It's like if it's under, I feel like it'll only be like 2 games, something crazy like that.
I don't think Masai trades everybody. After all this, I still don't think Masai trades people. I think they win it out. They think they're competitive, and I'm saying over just because I think they keep the same nucleus, and I think they win like 38 games. And they could compete for the play-in.
I think they can keep this. I think they can keep the same nucleus and not be better than the Pacers. I think the Orlando Magic could also overtake them. Teams like that. Like,
but I still don't.
The Bulls.
But like
the Bulls will be better than them.
It could still be competitive though. Like just because those teams are better, I think it could still be competitive. Like I could see them getting 37, 38 wins.
Bulls are a tricky team.
Yeah. So
the Bulls are definitely better. Let's look at their record from last season. They were
41.
Yep, 41 and 41. The Raptors was 41 and 41. Lost for Van Fleet. I don't know, man. So
teams got better.
Some teams in the East got better. I think that a team like the Pacers can overtake them. I think a team like Magic overtakes them. Not the Pistons or nothing like that, but there are other teams. Let me look at the Eastern Conference real quick for it. The Pistons? Nah.
Definitely not.
Not yet.
Why not a Cade season?
He can have a breakout season, which he will.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he can have a breakout season, and they still. I'm just looking at the bottom of the East.
Nah, Pistons gonna be tough in a few years.
How many's a few?
It definitely will be. All right, man. That was our Atlantic Division.
They got Scottie Pippen.
Okay.
Atlantic Division
All right.
preview. Ignoring that. Atlantic Division preview. Thank you guys for watching. That was a decently long episode. It's not even gonna be an episode. We're gonna just release previews for every single division. This is separate of our actual episodes unless like something big happens. We still got football coverage and stuff like that. Preseason going on, so we'll have like award predictions and other stuff like that. We'll have award predictions stuff like that. We have award predictions stuff like that, and separate episodes stuff like that. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and all of our social medias. To keep us updated, and thank you guys for watching. We appreciate y'all.